This year, I grew 3 different varieties of strawberries, and of the 3 varieties I tried, Chandler was my favorite variety. I purchased Chandler bare roots from a seller on Etsy called Plant World. I planted my bare roots in the fall and got lots of nice big strawberries throughout the winter and spring. By early June, the production had mostly stopped, which was actually a relief because the insect pressure was getting to be too much, and our hot, humid, rainy summer weather in Florida is not good for strawberries. I was very happy with the amount of production and the length of time that the Chandler plants produced berries. Compared to other strawberry varieties I've grown, Chandler's level of production was very good, but not quite as good as a couple of other varieties, so I gave Chandler a 4.5 for productivity. As for fruit quality, I had to give Chandler a 3 because it was prone to having poor fruit quality when the weather was very rainy or humid. Our strawberry growing season is during the dry season, so most of the time the Chandler fruits were fine, but we had several rainy spells during the peak of the season, and when there was too much rain and humidity, the berries would get soft and they also would get diseases that caused rotten spots on the fruits. There were a few weeks that it got really bad, and I feared that the disease would take over the plants and destroy them, but thankfully that didn't happen. Once the weather got dry again, the new fruits were okay, and most of them were pretty normal and healthy for the rest of the season. And during the period of time when the fruits were affected by a disease, I still was able to eat some of them. If the berries had only a few rotten spots, then I would just cut those off and eat the unaffected parts, and usually the berries still tasted good. But unfortunately, there were some that had too many rotten spots that had to be discarded. It's such a shame that the Chandler berries were so susceptible to diseases that reduced the fruit quality, because they had very good flavor and were otherwise a great variety. Depending on the environmental conditions, the flavor of Chandler ranged from being tart and not very great to being exceptionally delicious when the weather conditions were optimal. I'm still trying to figure out what causes strawberries to have such variability in their flavor, but I think a lot of it has to do with the watering schedule. When grown in optimal conditions, the Chandler strawberries would be rated a 5 for flavor. A 5 out of 5. Some of the best berries I have ever tasted were Chandler berries. But since the berries weren't always that delicious, and sometimes were tart or sometimes bland, I only rated them a 4.5 for flavor. I also will say that I have grown Chandler strawberries in the past that came as plugs instead of bare roots, and they came from a different seller. And I'm not sure why, but the ones that I grew this time from Plant World tasted better than the ones I grew before. So I would recommend getting them from Plant World on Etsy, or would recommend getting bare roots instead of plugs. I don't know why that would make a difference, but it seems like it might have. Or maybe the other seller sent me the wrong variety. That's a possibility too. Really can't say what happened there, but I just know I had a really good experience with the ones that I had from Plant World, so those are the ones I would buy in the future just to be sure that I know what I'm getting. Overall, I rated Chandler strawberries as a 12 out of a possible 15, and they're one of my favorite varieties that I've grown. I would definitely recommend trying the Chandler strawberries. I'm going to try to keep mine growing throughout the summer, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to keep growing these from the same mother plants next season, but seeing as they were kind of prone to diseases when it got rainy and wet, I'm a little nervous about how they'll do because we have very wet, rainy summers and hot, humid. So they may or may not handle the weather conditions. We'll see. I'm hoping for the best, but either way, these are definitely a variety that I want to keep growing in the future. I'll also be doing reviews for the other 2 varieties of strawberry that I grew this past season, which were Albion and Sparkle. So if you're interested in seeing those reviews, then stay tuned for future updates. Thanks for watching. Happy gardening!